You just did that?
Did you like it? You want me to do it to someone else?
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy. So Phase 5 of the MCU has officially concluded with Ironheart, and this finale and its big twist ending perfectly set up the final phase of the saga and the arrival of Doctor Doom. Phase 6 is slated to feature at least 2 Avengers films, as well as not 1, not 2, but 3 new shows. Now, all of these shows will likely include the return of Riri Williams and, of course, spoiler alert,
Mephisto!
A character who has been secretly pulling the strings of this entire saga from its conception, going all the way back to WandaVision.
Not the beast! Ah!
And before we get rolling, remember ScreenCrush is on all your favorite podcast platforms, and we just launched our first podcast episode with Sev Ohanian, the producer of Ironheart and Sinners. We had a great conversation. It's up right now. And as always, check out our merch store for great links so you can become a member and get free stuff.
Dude, free stuff!
So, in the finale of Ironheart, we finally meet Mephisto, a character that MCU fans have been clamoring for years.
It's finally happening.
And who we finally got a verbal mention of in Agatha all along.
Others say he might be a demon, or an agent of Mephisto.
And notice that first mention was to none other than Billy Maximoff. Keep that in mind for later. So it turns out that Parker Robin's cloak was gifted to him by Mephisto and not Dormammu like in the comics, or like Zelma had theorized. Mephisto is pretty much Marvel's version of the devil, and Sacha Baron Cohen's portrayal was perfect. You see, the character in the comics isn't all that interesting, and he's also a little bit too on the nose for a devil character. But this Mephisto is charming and suave, while simultaneously being terrifying.
Let me ask you, what is it that you most desire?
Now, in the comics, Mephisto has had run-ins with many Marvel characters, including Spider-Man, Wanda Maximoff, and especially Doctor Doom. He goes around making self-gratifying deals with desperate souls, and he's never really the main villain. He's always more of a string puller.
And I was tangled in strings.
Now, Mephisto's most recent recruit in the MCU is none other than Ironheart herself, Riri Williams. Riri has made a deal with the devil that resurrected her dead friend, plucking her soul from the multiverse.
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, we actually did a video about how when Riri dreamed to create the Natalie AI, that was a connection to the multiverse. You see, in the MCU, when you dream, you see the multiverse.
Dreams are windows into the lives of our multiversal selves.
Riri was taken back by how eerily lifelike this version of Natalie was, and she was also confused as to how this was even possible. We speculated that while Riri was dreaming, the brain scanning tech was able to access that window to the multiverse that every human mind has. It created a variant soul of Natalie in the form of ones and zeros. Yet another example of how this show brilliantly blended the magical and science realms of the MCU. And there's precedence for this in WandaVision when Wanda created the souls of Billy and Tommy that turned out to be carbon copies of what they were like in other universes, such as Universe 838.
Mommy! Get away from our mom! You're not our real mom! Please. Are you okay?
Now, a little bit later, I'm going to talk about Mephisto's secret role in creating the twin souls and how it connects to Doctor Doom. But first, we need to explain this new Natalie from the finale.
Oh God, I feel terrible.
Oh, what's wrong, little buddy?
My book club met last night and I guess I stayed up too late reading.
Yeah, I know that feeling. It's summertime, the weather's nice, and when you go out, you're all excited that you end up overdoing it. I went out last night too, actually.
You must feel pretty bad too.
No, not really, because before my first drink, I had a pre-alcohol from Z-Biotics. They're the sponsor of this video. Guys, Z-Biotics is one of my all-time favorite sponsors that we work with. Before any party, I hand these things out to my friends like they are party favors.
Well, what is it?
Well, Z-Biotics pre-alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. You see, when you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in your gut. Now, it's this byproduct and not dehydration that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme that breaks this byproduct down. But of course, remember to drink this probiotic before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and make sure to get a good night's rest so you can feel your best tomorrow. Anytime I ever go out, I always take a Z-Biotics pre-alcohol. I don't want to suffer for having a good time and be stuck on the couch all day feeling like garbage.
I wish somebody would throw me out with the garbage.
So I highly recommend you stock up on Z-Biotics pre-alcohol. Click the link in the description to get 15% off your first order at checkout. checkout. You can also sign up for a subscription using my code, and believe me, you are going to want to do this. ZBiotics offers a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you are unsatisfied for any reason, they're going to refund your money, no questions asked. Just click that link below and you will not regret it. Now, back to what I was saying. So this new in-the-flesh Natalie appears to be separate from the AI Natalie's consciousness. She doesn't have the memories of the AI Natalie, and in fact, the last thing she remembers is right before she died.
Where's Gary?
So this isn't the soul of the Natalie AI now in a flesh body. It appears to be a resurrected Natalie. Well, kind of. Mephisto resurrecting a loved one isn't quite the same as in the comics when Mephisto resurrected Aunt May, rewriting reality to where she never died. This is more like the blip from Endgame. Natalie is back, but time has passed. And that opens up the door to even more questions like, is her dead body from the drive-by shooting still buried in a cemetery? Or is it gone like it never happened? My guess, her body is still there. And this Natalie is a Natalie that was pulled from the multiverse just before she was killed, similar to the villains in Spider-Man No Way Home. And now Natalie has been dropped into a reality where frankly she doesn't belong, and the ramifications of this tampering with time and reality will be detrimental and could have major implications for Doomsday, Secret Wars, and the resurrection of Tony Stark as Dr. Doom, a resurrection that has already been teased in Spider-Man Far From Home. And then teased again more recently by the Russo brothers, who stated that Tony's death in Endgame is directly connected to Doom.
Here you go again, thinking they had a plan for all this and they're not just making it up as they go. You sound like TV guy.
Hey, look, I know that many have been dismayed by the sheer amount of content that Marvel has been pumping out and the fact that a lot of it hasn't been their best work. And once upon a time, I agreed with that sentiment. But I think as this saga begins to reach its end, the plan is becoming a little more clear and a lot of dots are starting to connect, whether that be retroactively or plotted from the beginning. Honestly, I think it's probably a little bit of both. Now, WandaVision, the first series of this multiverse saga, her reality manipulating hex that we were introduced to, as well as that series commentary on consciousness and AI, I think it was all a major tease for the overarching theme of this saga. A through-line, underlying theme from WandaVision all the way to Ironheart, and that theme is a philosophical exploration and debate of the self and what it means to be you. And I think we're going to see that debate in Doomsday and Secret Wars with variants galore, villains and heroes switching sides, and of course with Tony Doom. Every project of this saga has explored the idea of self-discovery, self-awareness, the choices that we make, the people that we want to be, and the concept of free will and whether or not that even exists. And Ironheart and its introduction of this AI Natalie and now a resurrected Natalie play into this philosophical debate of this real Natalie. What does it mean to be the real Natalie? And it all goes back to that discussion that we saw the two visions have here.
But certainly you are the true vision for you believe yourself to be. That was once the case, but upon meeting you, I have been disabused of that notion.
Not only are we likely on track to see this version of Natalie feel violated and out of place and likely destined to die again when Riri breaks her deal with the devil, but we also need to discuss at what cost is Riri getting her friend back. And when Tony ultimately returns as Dr. Doom, what are the dooming consequences of that resurrection? How does it happen and at what cost? Well, Ironheart may have just given us our first clue, and this was honestly the perfect series to tease the future of Tony Stark's return as Doom. Not only is this the final project that leads into Phase 6, which will be very Doom-centric, and the entire character of Ironheart is, and I don't say this negatively, a derivative character. And there's nothing wrong with being a derivative character. Hell, I am basically a derivative character. But hey, before we get too deep into the whole Doom thing, we did kind of breeze over Wanda creating souls and how that connects to Mephisto and the multiverse. So I want to take a second to go back to that and explain it. Wanda's family in WandaVision, they all had souls. Billy, Tommy, and our new Vision. And those souls now live on in new bodies. Billy and Tommy's souls took over new bodies of people who were briefly dead, and Vision's soul has been placed back into his original body, now the White Vision, who we will be seeing again in Vision Quest. Vision Quest being a show that will also explore the nature of self and what it means to be sentient intelligent and self-aware as an artificial intelligence. We're not only going to see that explored through Vision, who is on his own spirit quest of self-discovery, but also with the confirmed reintroduction of many of Tony's AIs in a physical form, including the return of Ultron. And I think it is very safe to say that Vision will likely mentor these Young Avengers, aka the Champions, just like in the comics in their series. A series that is all but certain to feature Riri Williams, Billy and Tommy, Kate Bishop, Miss Marvel, Cassie Lang, and maybe even America Chavez and Zelma, who I assume will also be in that Strange Academy series, which the post-credit scene to Ironheart I think was totally teasing.
How about a little abracadabra?
And my hope is that we will see all of these characters going up against Mephisto. And then in a few years, when we're enjoying the Mutant Saga, we can look back at the Multiverse Saga at a macro level and hopefully see a through line that had been there right under our nose the whole time. And I have to say that I don't think it's a coincidence that we are getting so much commentary and world building on artificial intelligences and souls in all of these projects that are leading up to the return of RDJ as a completely different character in Doom.
Well, and all of this ties perfectly back into the comics. Take Spider-Man One More Day, for example. Now that's probably the most popular, yet simultaneously loathed Mephisto appearance. Spider-Man's deal with the devil results in his secret identity being restored through Mephisto rewriting reality. Now, Mephisto made it to where Peter never revealed his identity in Civil War and Aunt May never died, but he and Mary Jane were never married. It's also in the comics where Wanda becomes pregnant with Billy and Tommy despite Vision's inability to actually get her pregnant, just like we see in WandaVision. But it's later revealed that Tommy and Billy's souls were pieces of Mephisto's soul. And we think the same could be true in the MCU. Wanda may have made a deal with the devil and not even known it. And by the way, I want to let you guys know that if you use our secret code, Doug Said So, you get 20% off our merch store. And this is just in time to get your merch to go see these awesome movies coming out this month. We have Jurassic Park merch like Clever Girl, Life Finds a Way, and the Isla Nublar Fun Run. And for the Fantastic Four, we have shirts like July 2025, which shows the rocket ships of Superman and the Fantastic Four passing one another in space, Flame On, Clobber in Time, the Fantastic Four as the Beatles and Abbey Road, the Fantastic Four as the Jetsons, and my personal favorite, The Thing as John Carpenter's The Thing. And for Superman, we have fun shirts like Brian as Crypto. Again, the code is Doug Said So. You can find the link to our merch store down below. And really, buying our merch helps out our channel, and thank you so much for your support. All throughout WandaVision, Wanda did a lot of stuff that she seems somewhat unaware of. To an extent, she was even a victim of her own delusion spell. It's then, of course, later revealed that the Darkhold and its author, the demon Chthon, was manipulating Wanda in Multiverse of Madness. Now, I tell you all this because at the end of Ironheart, with the resurrection of Natalie by Mephisto, it's making me think that he was also secretly involved in helping Wanda create Billy and Tommy's soul. And I remember when No Way Home came out, a big theory going around was that Mephisto was manipulating Doctor Strange as well. And in Multiverse of Madness, when we meet a variant of Doctor Strange who has been corrupted by the Darkhold, we see in his sanctum what looks like a relief sculpture of Mephisto. Once again, teasing that the devil's influence has been actually lurking behind the scenes in this entire saga. And I hope that with Ironheart being so well received, and with a super talented actor being brought in to play Mephisto, that we may actually be on track for a fun, interconnected story that finally ties together this saga. One of my biggest critiques of the Multiverse Saga has been a sense of directionlessness. The Infinity Saga did a great job of walking the line between making standalone projects that focus on their lead character while simultaneously telling a grander story that connects the universe together. This saga, on the other hand, has felt a lot more disjointed. I think we're finally starting to see some dots connect with this saga. I think we could soon learn that Mephisto was actually behind demons like Chthon and the Darkhold, behind the hellish realm that we saw with Wong and She-Hulk, behind entities like the character of Nightmare, which was teased here in Loki.
This place is a nightmare.
That's another department.
And who was originally going to be the villain of Multiverse of Madness. It would be a great twist to learn that all of this eerie dark magic stuff that's been happening and the manipulation of reality has actually been the work of the devil himself. And like in the comics, Mephisto could have a big connection to Doctor Doom. In the comics, we see Doom trying like hell to save his dead mother's soul from hell in the clutches of Mephisto. The Infinity Saga has already demonstrated the affinity that Tony has for his mom.
I don't care. He killed my mom.
But imagine if this resurrected version of the character has a connection to Mephisto via his soul also being a shard of the Dark Lord himself. And imagine Doom being at the behest of the freaking devil. And not to get too off topic here, but we've recently theorized about Tony Stark having been adopted in the MCU, and the Starks not being his actual parents, and that he was actually born a Von Doom. So what if this resurrected Tony Doom seeks out his real mother only to learn that she was killed? And to bring her back, he makes a deal with the devil. I mean, the possibilities are endless. It's even possible that just in this universe, when Maria Stark was killed, Tony made a deal then to bring her back to life. And by the way, that's just the Doctor Doom angle. We also have shows like Vision Quest, Champions, and the Strange Academy on the horizon. The Champions are another version of the Young Avengers, with heroes like Cassie Lang, Kate Bishop, Kamala Khan, Billy Maximoff, hopefully his brother Tommy, and you know, maybe that guy with the bad haircut at the end of She-Hulk. So these heroes could unite to form the Champions in order to stop Mephisto. And like we mentioned a moment ago, White Vision will soon return in Vision Quest, and that show will serve as a quasi-sequel to WandaVision, Agatha All Along, and maybe even Ironheart. And it will explore that Ship of Theseus philosophical problem of what it means to be the true you. And I think that we'll see a similar discussion had amongst the Avengers in Doomsday, as their world is shaken by the return of Tony Stark in the form of Doctor Doom. And maybe they'll even have to battle variants of themselves in Secret Wars. And my hope is that shows like WandaVision, Loki, Agatha All Along, and Ironheart may finally be realized as the most important pillars to setting up this entire saga. But hey, those are just our thoughts. Let us know yours down in the comments below, or at me on Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, or in our free-to-join Discord server. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.